There have been artists out there that have put their necks out essentially to try to raise awareness and like trying to move the needle against the US supporting the genocide in Gaza, but there haven't been that many. And the reason why is multifaceted, but one of the main reasons is that you get in a lot of public trouble for being anti-Zionist, for opposing Israel's actions in any capacity because of those cynical weaponizations of anti-Semitism that only make actual anti-Semitic acts have more cover. Because if you're gonna lie and say people are anti-Semitic simply for not wanting Israel to genocide Palestinians, then what about the people that are actually doing anti-Semitic shit? It's kind of boy who cried wolf, and you wouldn't want that if you want less anti-Semitism in the world, which I do. I don't want anti-Semitism in the world. I don't want any bigotry of any kind. That's kind of like the whole point of being a leftist. So like, if that's actually a goal that you have, then cynical weaponizations of it don't really work. Like, they hurt the cause more. So like, a lot of artists won't stick their necks out like that because they know that they're going to be hit with a lot of bullshit claims of anti-Semitism when they're just against a genocide. I don't know why. I was like racking my brain for funny memes about the thrift shop song, and one of the ones that came in my head was like, walk up in the club like, what up, I got a crumb suck. That's the best my brain can do in my current state. It's not very good. It's not even having any redeemable qualities whatsoever, but I mean... And I was gonna do something about, like, remember this guy, Macklemore, you know, the white rapper that got a Grammy or some shit over a whole bunch of other, you know, black rappers in the scene who put out really good projects. And he got it for, I forget what album he did. He's really popular for Thrift Shop, which was a song that I don't even remember how it goes except for Walk Into the Club. And this one line about R. Kelly, which was, I guess, funny, but kind of morbid as well, about how the coat, since it's secondhand, smells like urine. Yeah, in the 8th grade, I thought I was gay. Macklemore said that. That's true. Hop on the beat like a cricket. Women, I put my dick in it. So true, so true. Shouts out anybody that watches Oddwin, I guess, if you get that one. Anyway, turns out he's not as cringe as you might be led to believe, because he put out a track on May the 7th, 2024, and at time of filming, it is currently May the 8th, 2024, called Hind's Hall, written and produced by Macklemore. And it is a video accompanied by music overlaid of Macklemore being in support of ending the genocide in Palestine, which I think is a noble goal. I think that's a good thing, and I really appreciate it. So I figured we would give it a look. Evidently, there is some graphic imagery in the video because it's really bad over in Gaza, given the right-wing government in the nation-state of Israel, led by absolute insane person Netanyahu and his far-right regime, have for a long time been just absolutely morally bankrupt and obscene, and should there be a hell, which I know in Judaism there isn't one, but perhaps if like one of several other religions that does have a hell ends up actually being real, when my position is none of them are, then they're going there, okay? That whole administration, because good lord, they have been absolutely ruining Palestine. And I don't think that's good. And Macklemore apparently doesn't either. So there's going to be images of that in this video. In the YouTube video that we put out, if you're watching it there, it'll probably be blurred just for the ability for this video to not like get pushed in the, you know, bowels of the algorithm. But like, if you want to see the video yourself, feel free, but it's hard to escape the nightmarish visuals, which is honestly putting it kindly, because to be a nightmare, it means it's not real. And, you know, it's when you're asleep and it's not actually happening, but like it's actually happening. But from Israel's onslaught and genocide on Gaza, you know, you've probably already seen a lot of it. If you really want to see the whole thing, obviously we link to it. But yeah, let's see what is up. So true. So at this point, like there's a lot that you could say about the music. I've heard like protest songs, or like I don't know exactly what you would call this kind of music, or like I think like protest music or activist type music. I've heard a lot of it before, and it's obviously not like something you're listening on your regular rotation. It's not something you're fucking bumping in the club, but it has a purpose. And the purpose in a lot of cases is for large artists with a big megaphone and a big following to be able to spread the word about something that they care about. Usually it's a specific moment in history, like in this case, this most recent onslaught against Gaza by the right-wing Netanyahu government in Israel. And it has a lot of value in that way. And when it comes to the person who's delivering it, you know, there's things you can say about the fact that it's Macklemore and, you know, he's a white guy talking about these issues. Not that that should, like, diminish his input or, like, the legitimacy of his claims or whatever, but he does have a lot of benefits for being white to be able to do something like this. You could see a different scenario of, you know, a black rapper or a brown rapper making the same song, even, like, especially if they had a similar level of prominence, which, you know, Macklemore doesn't have as much nowadays, but he's got a lot of lingering because he's won awards in the past, you know, Thrift Shop popped off and then everybody learned about him and all this kind of stuff. But like the fact that he is white is actually, you know, it's good to be used to his advantage when it comes to this kind of stuff. Because obviously, a lot of the Zionist, like anti-Palestinian, Islamophobic stuff, like it takes all comers when it comes to cynical claims of anti-Semitism from far-right, you know, anti-Palestinian people in the government, in the media, when it comes to the Israeli government's PR people and the IDF and their talking points. You know, they got smoke for everybody. They will cynically weaponize anti-Semitism against protesters, even though there's a whole bunch of Jewish protesters at a lot of these campus rallies. If I recall correctly, a lot of the people who have been arrested at these rallies and at these protests have been Jewish American students. And it might even be disproportionately so, but I'm not too sure about that. And there's a lot of people in Israel who are Jewish, or even not, because there are Christians in Israel, there are obviously Muslims in Israel, but primarily Jewish people, obviously, considering that's, you know, the government religion in Israel, that are against the Netanyahu government and have been protesting him for a long time and are in the worst position to do so, considering that there could be a lot of anti-Palestinian sentiment and like tactics wrought upon them by the right-wing regime in Israel to stop essentially their freedom of speech, though obviously the freedom of speech that you might have in Israel is going to be different than the United States and any other place, right? Because it's just a different government. Even though sometimes it kind of feels like it's the same one as the US one, you know? So, like, there's a lot of benefit for Macklemore to be doing this, and he has a lot of additional pieces of armor to be able to be used for the fact that he is white, and in this case, wealthy too, that he's able to put out something like this, and it's to be commended. It's not obviously the biggest way to help the people in Gaza. All proceeds go to the UNRWA. He's obviously raising a lot of awareness and hoping that people will be able to donate and whatnot and spread the word, call their congresspeople, whatever. Aren't Israelis also getting arrested for protesting and sentenced? Yeah. I mean, the fact that people are being smeared as anti-Semites, even though they're walking in lockstep with, you know, people that happen to be Jewish that are opposed to Netanyahu's right-wing government in Israel, are opposed to the genocide of Palestinians, that doesn't really matter to a lot of the Zionists on the right, not only the Jewish Zionists, but also Christian Zionists like Joe Biden, for instance, or essentially the entirety of the Republican Party, except for the super anti-Semitic ones. Right-wingers love, by the way, Republicans love to be anti-Semitic, very clearly. Like, I'm not saying all, you know, Republican voters are neo-Nazis. I'm just saying all neo-Nazis vote Republican. Like, they know their closest alignment in the two-party system in America, and they vote accordingly. There's a lot of them that will weaponize the anti-Semitism claims, not only to sow division and cause conflict between the left and the right, but also in order to spread Islamophobic views, because they can, you know, obviously for very many reasons, because there's a lot of Muslims in Palestine and the broader Middle East, they can use it to go against them. They'll support the nation-state project of Israel as a means to destabilize that area and give the US a reason to, you know, do a lot of bad shit to the majority Muslim countries in the area. The whole evangelical Christian mythology about the rapture and how the Christians will end up being able to get raptured to heaven is predicated upon Jewish people returning to their homeland. And once that happens, they don't get raptured, of course, just the Christian people do. But that's why evangelical Christians in the United States especially support the Israeli nation state. That's why Donald Trump moved the embassy during his presidency. And if that's not anti-Semitic, I don't know what is. Like, that entire worldview of white Christian evangelical mythology requiring essentially Jewish people to be sacrificed for Christians to be able to be raptured to heaven, it seems pretty fucking anti-Semitic to me. But anyway, like, it's a lot of bullshit, and what I mean to say is Macklemore has a lot of armor against a lot of that stuff. Because, you know, he's a white dude with a fair amount of money and some public prominence. So it's really cool that he's done this. We will continue to listen to it. When it comes to what's being said, it's a lot of no lies detected. It's also cool that, you know, a voice like this might reach liberal Democrats as well that aren't as on the Free Palestine side because they're not as educated, or, you know, they are like self-described centrists in a general sense and are like relatively apolitical outside of casting a ballot for a blue every 4 years or 2 years. That might be reached from this because Macklemore is like a big icon for liberalism. For like liberals, I should say. He doesn't have like the view of like being a far left revolutionary guy. Maybe he does more after this because this is a fairly far left viewpoint he's espousing if you're going to apply a political label to it. But like maybe that's also going to be able to reach a lot of undecided people who just aren't very educated when it comes to the Democratic Party. Because like polling is showing that the Democratic Party, the voters in it that should matter to the Democrats who are in power, are not a big fan of genocide. Shockingly. It's good to know that there's still normal people out there that don't like genocide. That's really nice. It's nice to see that we're not alone, you know? And that could have negative repercussions to their electoral success. So having more like liberals be enfranchised into that Free Palestine side of things, I think is really good. But yeah, let's continue. True. It's a good question, really. Like, the US is complicit and also helping the genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza through arms sales, through the military allegiance that Israel has with America as well. It's one of the big reasons why Israel, as a nation state, is able to essentially piss off all of their neighbors, Egypt, Iran, etc., and, like, not really get that much trouble from those countries. It's because they know that if they attack Israel and try to stop them from doing all this shit, the US is going to back Israel in its response, and obviously they don't want that. So it's like, if it is the case that like simply protesting a genocide is enough to get the goddamn goon squad, SWAT teams called into protest, just like college kids as well, who are going to get infantilized by the media and by people on the right or by Zionists as like not knowing what they're protesting about or whatever, but also are somehow a threat and need the police to come in and break them up, even though they're just occupying the campus to try to get their tuition dollars to not go to funding a genocide and have their universities divest from the nation state of Israel. It's like kind of clear demands, really, and I think reasonable ones. And as well as like also maybe having the people who pay their tuition have more of a say in where that money goes to begin with. Because a lot of it goes to bullshit that doesn't actually benefit the people paying into it, the students that are going there for a degree to do what they've been told their entire lives to do, which is get a higher education, get a degree, and then, you know, be a more productive member of society by getting whatever job the degree helps you get, which doesn't mean much nowadays, unfortunately, considering a bachelor's degree is about as good as a high school diploma nowadays. It might even be worse than that. I don't know. I only have a high school diploma. I didn't go to college because I couldn't really afford it. Anyway, it's very strange, and it's a good thing to be put out here. I will say that when it comes to like the lyricism, the flows, whatever, like if we want to go through this song like a musical piece rather than a political message, because it is both, obviously it's like some lyrical miracle type stuff when it comes to like the lyricism. You know, what's being said is true, and the rhyme structure it's fine, but like it is, like I say, it's not a song you're bumping in the club. It's here for a message to be sent, not necessarily for like listenable, danceable music, you know what I mean? So like I'm not going to focus as much on that, you know? And I will say, This is true. Like, there have been artists out there that have put their necks out essentially to like try to raise awareness and like try to move the needle against the US supporting the genocide in Gaza, but there haven't been that many. And the reason why is multifaceted, but one of the main reasons is that you get in a lot of public trouble for being anti-Zionist, for opposing Israel's actions in any capacity because of those cynical weaponizations of anti-Semitism that only make actual anti-Semitic acts have more cover. Because if you're going to lie and say people are anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish, simply for not wanting Israel to genocide Palestinians, then what about the people that are actually doing anti-Semitic shit? Like, it seems like your claims aren't really holding a lot of water. It's kind of boy who cried wolf at that point. And you wouldn't want that if you want less anti-Semitism in the world, which I do. I don't want anti-Semitism in the world. I don't want any anti-religious minority bigotry or any religious bigotry to begin with. I don't want any bigotry of any kind. That's kind of like the whole point of being a leftist for the most part, outside of a variety of economic things. But anyway, it's like if that's actually a goal that you have, then cynical weaponizations of it don't really work. Like, they hurt the cause more, unfortunately. So like a lot of artists won't stick their necks out like that because they know that they're going to be hit with a lot of bullshit claims of anti-Semitism when they're just against a genocide. But there have been other artists who have come out and been in support of Palestine. One of the earliest that I can remember was when Redveil pulled up a bunch of the names at one of his shows. This is in LA, it's some LA show. Amazon Music Live pulled up a bunch of names of the people who had lost their lives in Gaza since October 7th. And this was really cool to see. And this was fairly early. This is 5 months ago in November. And it's really cool to see. There was even a call to action where he was like, yo, get to this. Yeah, here it is. Get to this website, contact your congresspeople. It was really cool to see. But Redveil is not like the biggest name out there. He's relatively small. The first time I heard about Redveil was when he was on Kingdom Hearts Key on the Scare and the Hose Volume 1 project, which was JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown. He featured on that, and it was good as hell, by the way. That's a good song. It's one of my favorite on the project. On the wall behind me. It's really good. Big fan of that. And then he ended up doing another song that I heard with Peggy as the feature, which was good as well. But I haven't heard as much from that, mostly because I'm just not listening to a lot of rap music nowadays, like newer stuff that's coming out. But like, this was one of the earlier ones that I remember, and it's really good. It's just that Redveil doesn't have the same megaphone that Macklemore does. He's not as big, and that's one of the reasons why the Macklemore shit is moving the needle a little bit more and is getting more accolades. It's because he's got a bigger megaphone, for one, and for two, a lot of that is because if it was a black or brown artist that had the same exact song and video with it, they might fare worse in the court of public opinion, because not only do they have, you know, the cynical weaponization of anti-Semitic claims against them, but they also have the racist shit that's going to be thrown against them too, you know? You also had the Weeknd way back when. So this is April 29, 2024, some more recent one. Then there's the December 4th, 2023. The Weeknd donates $2.5 million to support emergency humanitarian efforts in Gaza. And then more recently, $2 million to provide 18 million loaves of bread to Gaza families, which is really cool. Big fan of that. I've never been like the biggest Weeknd head. I appreciate that he's kind of like channeling a Michael Jackson type vibe for the music in a lot of ways. And a lot of other features that I've heard him on have been pretty cool. But that's been neat to see. Also, we have Hunter Schafer, who got arrested at a protest in New York City that was in support of Palestinians in Gaza, which was nice. A younger actor, 25 years old, and demonstrating, like, regardless of the star power from being on Euphoria, she's out there demonstrating for, you know, shit she believes in and is getting Big Brother on her ass for it. That was ahead of Joe Biden's appearance on Late Night with Seth Meyers, it would seem. We've also had cringe-ass responses like from Kim Kardashian, where at some festival in Hamburg, there was a protester shouting "Free Palestine," and then she responded with "All lives matter, free everybody." And it's like, okay, dude. I mean, I agree that like nobody should have to go through what Gaza and Palestinians are going through, but like it's kind of in the current moment. There's clearly one side that is getting absolutely destroyed, like in the literal sense of the word. Like, that is an ongoing genocide. I feel like there's a side to pick here, and to be like, oh no, free everybody. You know, I'm a centrist on this issue. Like, to be a centrist on this issue is to tacitly support genocide. You're just too much of a bitch to say it. Like, frankly, that's what it is. Like, dumb as hell. But I mean, out of touch, millionaire, billionaire, whatever. What are you gonna do? Isn't there like a meme where it's like people are dying, Kim, or some shit like that? Like, it's literally that meme. And I don't even know what Kim Kardashian's views are going to be on the issue. Like, I'm not in her brain. I feel like her head might pop if I was. Like, it's possible she could be against the genocide, but, like, I feel like it's either going to be ignorance or the fact that she knows that if she is anti-genocide in this moment, she's going to be smeared as an anti-Semite, and she could see social ramification in a variety of ways. In many cases, you know, the wallet, which should not be that much of an issue for her, considering how much money she has, which makes it even dumber that, you know, she's all lives matter on this issue. But it's like the same shit with Black Lives Matter, too. It's like, yeah, we don't want anybody getting roughed up by the police and being victims of police brutality. The BLM protesters also protest when white people are the victims of police brutality. You just don't see it on the news because it's inconvenient for the narrative from right-wingers that are claiming it's like a black supremacist group or whatever. But like, we're currently talking specifically about black people when it comes to the disproportionate police brutality that they're subject to, and we're trying to stop that. And in so doing, we would also help any white people as well. It's the same for fucking saying free everybody when it comes to free Palestine. Like, yeah, sure, we don't want anybody to get hurt. We don't want anybody to be subject to any of this shit. Like, October 7th was an obvious tragedy, and it was deplorable. But, like, since then, the response has been, like, exponentially disproportionate. And it's a whole genocide going on. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I wish people had the stones to take a side, because if you have this much money, like, you have the ability. You can tank a lot of the social damage that you might get from Zionists and, like, people cynically weaponizing anti-Semitic claims against you. Like, you could tank a lot of that because of the amount of money you have, the PR people you have, even the lawyers you have. Like, you could tank it. Like, a lot of other people can't. Like, redveil, I don't know that he could, because, like, he's not that big of a rapper. Not that big of an artist. It'd probably be harder for him, right? But, like, he's out there. He's saying shit. The Weeknd's got money, and he's doing it. I don't know. Anyway. So true. And that's just, but that's also to say, I don't know what Kendrick's, like, take on Palestine would be. I would like to think he would be, you know, free Palestine, given a lot of what I know of, like, the messaging that he's putting in his music when it comes to the liberation of oppressed peoples. You would hope that he would be, but I just don't know, because I don't know that he said anything about it. But it would have been really cool at the height of the Drake-Kendrick beef, which, you know, we've talked about in the past on this channel, if you want to see my takes on it. Got 2 videos on it. It would have been cool if when all eyes were on him, he, you know, could have said some shit about, you know, free Palestine. And it might have hit him in the same ways that it could hit anybody else when it comes to anti-Semitic claims against you that are, you know, fallacious and cynically weaponized to silence you. But, like, I feel like you could tank it. It's a shame. So I do appreciate that call out. And, you know, it's a good way to get the message out there, too, to relate it to current events. Yeah. That's pretty good. You got to appreciate the man for, you know, doing it, for sticking his neck out like that. Unfortunately, 736,000 views. Like, you would hope that it would be doing a bit more than that, but that's still a fair amount of movement for a track like this. It has 29 million on Twitter. Yeah, but I mean, when has Twitter views ever meant anything, unfortunately? Probably tanked the algorithm with the images. Yeah, that's true. Before I opened the link for the first time on the video players, the first time I've ever seen a message like this, it was like, yo, a heads up, content warning is going to be, you know, graphic imagery. And there was some graphic imagery that even I had to, you know, not show for, you know, so I don't get the shit end of the stick for that. But, like, this is real shit going on in the world, man. Like, I get that it would be TOS or, like, age restriction when it comes to, like, people just showing gore or whatever. Obviously, you wouldn't want that. But, like, in the context here, it is very necessary. Because it's driving the point home that this shit is happening and it's bad. And, you know, to turn a blind eye to it and to not take a stance on it is you're essentially just siding with the pro-genocide crowd. And I wouldn't want that. You know, if it was me, I would want to put my position out there so that you know that I'm not on the pro-genocide side. You know, I'm on the free Palestine and the fucking genocide side, you know? It seems like sometimes silence is not the play. But to censor a lot of this stuff is kind of lame. Because, like, if it's against the rules to show that kind of shit, it should also be against the rules for it to happen in the first place. But it doesn't seem to matter too much. Even, like, in international criminal court shit and whatnot. Doesn't seem to do too much. We used to have laws against war crimes and all this kind of stuff, but they don't seem to matter too much nowadays. A law is only as much validity as the people who are supposed to believe in it think it has. And clearly... when it comes to the US, when it comes to a variety of governments around the world and their war crimes and horrific actions, like even Russia for its onslaught on Ukraine, there was a lot more movement when it came to that. And, you know, it's likely because it's a lot of white people in Ukraine instead of a lot of brown Muslims and Christians and whatnot in Gaza and in Palestine. But yeah, so go to the campus bail funds link, help out the people who have been arrested for protesting against the genocide in Gaza. Go to the UNRWA, donate there as well. Go to your local protests, call your Congress people, try to get them to make some moves to try to pressure the government, and in this case Biden, to stop aiding and abetting a genocide. Would be cool. I don't know, call me crazy. And yeah, keep on keeping on.